Warning: this narration may contain content that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listeners' discretion is advised. Furthermore, if you go on to enjoy this narration, be sure to like, comment and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you can stay notified of all my uploads. Thank you. I've played every single Mario Kart game, and I'll admit, some were better than the others, and some were pretty much the same. I was only missing one copy, Mario Kart DS. I wanted that damn game so bad, but it was the time of the month where I'd have to use all of my money on more important things, like food. So one day, I decided to take a walk after being cooped up in my house all day, and that's when I found it. There was a celebration going on, and a ceremony at the high school near where I live. They had a massive open field, and there were races going on, things for kids like bounce houses, and food, lots of it. I decided to check it out since I had nothing better to do. So I got welcomed by some people working at the high school that day, and I started to walk towards the tables with the food on them, when I stepped on something. It was at the bottom of a grassy hill. A black DS light. I was facing the road and sidewalk, so it looked like somebody had just thrown it out of their car, or dropped it by mistake. My lucky day. I picked it up to check if there was any games inside of it, and it did. A copy of Mario Kart DS. I just couldn't believe my luck. I inserted the game back in, and opened the DS up, to see that the top screen was cracked right in the middle, like how iPhones look when you drop and crack them. So it seemed pretty much unusable. I didn't really mind, because I had my own DS. I slipped the system into my pocket, and began to walk home. It was a pretty cloudy day. I hated these days. They always make me feel so morbid. After about walking for 10 minutes, I had arrived back in my home and went inside. I removed my coat and proceeded to throw the DS into the trash, but keep the game, and I placed it in my DS. I started my system up, and then a picture of Mario popped up in the little box on the game selection screen. It was a face shot of Mario, but something was odd about it. He had no eyes, just holes in the middle of his head. I took this as some kind of glitch, and then proceeded to play the game. The title screen was completely normal, and so was my first race. And this was a blast. It was a bunch of Mario Kart maps put into one game. I was playing it for about half an hour before something very odd happened. I was in 7th place. Knowing I would eventually catch up to other NPCs, I drove at a steady pace when I hit an item box. It was a blue shell. The shell that gets the person that's in first place and makes their life suck. Except there was something odd about this shell. It wasn't blue. It was black. I just assumed that this was an item added into the game, so I used it without thinking. The black shell flew out of my cart and proceeded to chase the person down that was in first, which was Mario, and I was playing as Luigi at the time. The shell just nailed Mario. Instead of a normal Mario shout, I heard violent screaming as I passed him. That's when I saw why. It was only for a split second, but as I passed Mario, I saw that he had fallen out of his cart, lying on the ground. He was deeply breathing, and I noticed that there were spikes in his chest. The kind of spikes that are on the blue shell. Blood was oozing out of him at a steady pace, and his whole body looked burned. His hat was still on fire, but his skin was red and mangled, and he had bits and pieces of skin that were still there, but I could mostly see his flesh. I took this as just a trick of the eyes, but I noticed something odd about the board that tells you which place you're in. Mario was last, and it showed his face with no eyes. As I neared the end of my second lap, I noticed that Mario was still there, so I stopped my kart to get a better look at him. He was so seriously dead. What I saw before was true, as I stared in horror at the scene. I just let the other characters pass in front of me. I just decided to quit the race and I put down the game. I came back to the game the next day, and decided to try and race again. I noticed that Mario was not a playable character anymore. I continued. Whenever I was in 7th place, I got the item no matter what, and I kept using it, and it would always kill the character in 1st. I noticed that the item could never be used on me. Whoever was in 7th never got the item, but I always did. It seemed that I was the only one who could get that item. It always happened the same way. Burnt to a crisp, spikes in the chest, and blood oozing out slowly. All the characters I used it on would lose their eyes on the scoreboard and were now no longer playable. I was curious to see what would happen if I ran out of characters, so I continued the process until Luigi was the only one left, the character I would always use. I started a quick race just to see what would happen, and to my surprise, the race started normally. Except, there weren't any other racers besides me. I was just playing the course Luigi Circuit, but I noticed two odd things. The sky was pitch black, and there wasn't any item boxes, nor was there any sound. I'd just begun racing to see what would happen, and as I turned the corner in my final lap, I saw the finish line, except characters were blocking it. All the characters I'd used the shell on, they were standing there, with spikes in their chest, burned to a crisp, and blood forming a puddle at their feet. I stopped my kart just to see what would happen. The scene was creeping me the hell out. They just stood there, menacingly staring at me. No, not at Luigi, at the screen. At me. None of them had eyes. Text appeared at the bottom of the screen. It appeared to be what all of the dead characters were saying. Why would you do this to us? You're a monster. I stared at the screen. Were they talking to me? You must suffer the way we have, and you will, from now until the end of time. They all proceeded to pull out the black shells and aim them right at Luigi. This is going to be fun. They threw the shells at Luigi, and I was given a morbid animation of Luigi exploding and his limbs flying everywhere. Fire blazed on his kart, and poor Luigi just sat in a pile of his own limbs and blood. And the image just stayed like that. I stared in shock at it for about 5 minutes, until I managed to close the DS and throw it out my window. I thought it was over, but I was dead wrong. Now on the 7th day of every week, I have a dream. A dream where I can't see anything, I just feel. I feel spikes getting impaled in my chest every time. Many times. Like I'm being stabbed. I am then lit on fire and just left there. No one comes to help. I always try and stay awake on that 7th day, but I somehow always fall asleep no matter what I do. I need help. Please, if you find a black DS Lite on the ground somewhere, anywhere, with a copy of Mario Kart inside of it, whatever you do, do not pick it up. And that, my dogs, was Mario Kart the Death Shell, a Mario Kart haunted game creepypasta. So here are my thoughts on the story. It's an absolute grab bag, cause it's got stuff that's good and bad in it. It's unique-ish to say the least, and Mario Kart creepypasta was certainly something I wasn't expecting when looking for Mario Kart stories. But overall, I've seen the blood and guts and weird stuff in games too often. But this isn't really terribly bad like Sonic.exe or Dead Bart is. So I'm going to give it a little pass for that. It was a pretty good story. I've seen a lot worse, and for what it was, for Mario Kart, at least tried to do something, I guess, kind of remotely believable. I imagine some guy with a lot of time on his hands could make a hacked version with the death shell in it. I'd like to see that, but still. If I have to give this story my final rating out of 10, I'm going to give it a 6. It's slightly above 5, which is above average. It's okay enough. It's a pretty standard creepypasta, to be honest, so that's how I can rank it. At least the spelling is okay and it doesn't go into too much stupid cliches like hyper-realistic, thank god it didn't mention that, or photorealistic. But anyways, this has been the narration of the story. If you enjoyed this and you'd like to see some more, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and hit the bell so you can stay up to date with my latest videos. And of course check out my live streams, I stream Fridays and Saturdays, and also join the Discord server that's in the description below. See you guys later, and have a good night.